chance. So, yeah, it's okay, you cunts.
It seems like it's digital.
There's a way with the English vocabulary.
You should hear when we speak to laptops.
Where did you go to education list?
Yay! Right, yeah, we start with some recording. Fantastic. I love electronic equipment. Nice. A little tape, these audio digital recorders, about 30 quid in, is that recording? Brilliant. They're about 30 quid in Argos. Record, on the setting I've got it all, and they'll record like for 27 hours. That's the medium setting. One of these little mics, Amazon, 15 quid, once you've got one. Any event you do, when you put something together, record it, you've instantly then got another product that you can burn to CD, sell on eBay, internet website, blah de blah de blah de blah. In terms of eBay, which some of you may have guessed that rather a lot of my past products are on there, there is a lot of money to be made if you do it right. On the CDs that you take away, are complete step-by-step business plans for optimising your listings for eBay, how to use eBay to make maximum money. Just to make life even easier for you. And I forgot to mention before, not only do you get the software, the music, sound effects and what have you, for putting together that CMT thing, but if you were so desired, you could do custom to order, for a premium obviously, a subliminal therapy disc, because there's also the necessary software on there for creating your own subliminal recordings, together with the step-by-step instruction user guide to make it easy. And as we'll cover again slightly tomorrow when we do the marketing, you do walk away with a grand total of 18 diplomas and certifications for on your wall. So, you know, it really sort of is completely a ready-to-go business. Right. Where did I want to go from there? Yeah, I think basically we're up to suggestibility test, which is what the name implies. Tests to see how suggestible people actually are, which is obviously of more use in terms of a stage hypnosis show, because of a group session where you then, after having done the suggestibility test and observing who is the most suggestible, responsive or cooperative, depending on your point of view, or most eager to take part, you then obviously are going to pick on or choose or give them once in a lifetime opportunity to take part to the person who obviously reacts best to the test, and they'll come forward and be the people you use on stage for the show. In therapy, I use two suggestibility tests actually in the complete mind therapy session. Which, is it 2 or 3? I say I do because I don't now. I do it the way I said, the disc. But when I was physically doing stuff, when I was tinkering around with it, trying to make it more interesting, I started doing the odd one, purely for my own self-amusement. No, that didn't really add much benefit, other than a level of convincing, because when somebody physically feels something, and they come to the conclusion it happened because you said it would, yeah? Logically, the next thing you suggest that happens, and so on, it becomes a snowball. They believe practically anything you say after that. Okay? So, I think the best way, well, suggestibility test. I'll put a note here, yawning test. You can on purpose, when you really told the truth at the beginning. You can actually sort of yawn. And sooner or later, people will start to yawn. It happens. We already all really know that. But once you've done this, people start yawning. You then draw attention to it and say, well, I actually yawned on purpose, but I noticed a few of you are, that's fantastic. That proves to me that you're in the correct state of mind here today for this to be successful for you. So you anchor to that the idea that because they did that, and you made them do it, that everything else is good. You get the idea? That's what suggestibility tests are about. Or you could be talking to them about whatever, and just occasionally, whatever waffle you spouting, thanks for being here, wonderful ears. And yeah, you're already starting to have a bit of an itch, a scratch, yeah. People tend to pick up on it, you know, start to feel a bit itch. And then you say to them, well actually I did that on purpose, it's good to see that some of you reacted. If it's a group thing, you say some of you reacted, because then it puts the competition element into play as well. I want to do better, I'm going to keep an eye on what he's doing, fixation of attention, I want to react. You see, like you've got ants in your pants, fleas on your knees. Yes. And the more you try not to think of that, the more you actually will. Or reverse effort. Oh, lovely one. You can explain to people visually, I haven't got one here, if you had a real lemon, this is even better, but it still works anyway. If I had a lemon here, a real one, and a knife, what I do is I cut it in half and say suggestibility, what it's all about it. I just take this, lovely, horrible, lemon and stuck on it like that. Better with a real one, but it still works like this. I'm sure many of you start to find that your mouth starts to salivate. Yeah? That's suggestibility. Which is beautiful if you see the Salvation Army plane, nip to the market, get a lemon, stand in front of them, and start sucking on it. It really fucks them. It does. It does. Now, the perfume test, I'm not going to bother to demonstrate, well, I haven't got a bottle with me. You have what looks like, what people perceive to be a fine fragrance bottle. Yeah? And you take it out and you open it and you just go, oh, that is beautiful. And just put it down there. So I'm just going to put it there because it'll take a bit of a while to get around the room, the lovely aroma and smell. But when, not until, don't do it for the sake of it, but when you when it reaches your part of the room, just put your hand up if you would, that's fantastic. Now, obviously, you're not going to do that right now, but if there was a bottle there and I'd gone through with it and you didn't know, because of that suggestion that some people will start putting their hand up. Some people will genuinely create this idea in their own head. Try it, you'd be amazed at how well it works. And in a group scenario, once a few people start putting their hands up, people don't want to be the odd one out. So sooner or later, even if they'll convince themselves in the end that they have, it's swear blind they smell something. And then you can go, well actually it's all suggestion, because actually this is, you pour some out, and you go, it's actually just water. Do you want to try it? Prove it? And then it's like, because you then say to them, that's how the mind works, how powerful it is, and it's things like this we're going to use to prove to you today that, you know, you can change your life, you will change your life, whatever. Which means that's the phrase. You do something that's guaranteed some sort of response, and then you use the phrase, which means that, based on that evidence, what we're about to do is definitely going to be successful for you. Whether that be being hypnotised and taking part in a stage show, whether that be therapy change work on a group or one-to-one level. Make sense? That's the purpose of a suggestibility test. Yeah? You understood? Brilliant. And all of these, just like the inductions, like everything I've covered and more, is on the DVD footage and also in text format. So you can refer to it as much as you want. The ones you think, oh, I wouldn't mind using that one, I'll watch the video again. Or I wouldn't mind learning the word-for-word script. It's on there. It's easy for you. Another example of suggestion, but you can tell people about this verbally. It's a fun one, just for the crack really. Is if you're out and about, suddenly stop in the street somewhere where it's been stuff and go. And just start, and then perhaps when somebody's going, come here, sit. And they'll pull somebody out, and before you know it, you'll end up with a group of people trying to say this, whatever you've said you might see up there. And then you can sneak away. Retreat to a nearby cafe, sit down having a brew, looking at them, laughing your cock off. But that's suggestibility. This is what we're working with. This is how easy it is to manipulate people in a with positive intent. The age-old used by stage hypnotist test. I don't use this anymore. I used to years ago. There is video footage of me on YouTube of using this particular suggestibility test and teaching it on the videos on there, so for completeness I'll go through it. I don't use it because it's not 100% surefire. It's the truth. So, but I'll do it on you all, because the example is the best. So what I'd like each and every one of you to do in the room, okay, using your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, is place your hands out in front of you like so, arms outstretched. That's fantastic. Interlock your fingers, so the fingers of the left hand are against the back of the right hand, the fingers of the right hand against the back of the left hand, palms pressed tightly together, thumbs down on top, and squeeze your hands tightly together, just as tightly as you can. And then stare directly at the knuckles on your thumbs, and keep staring directly at the knuckles on your thumbs. And as you keep squeezing your hands together as tightly as you can, as I count backwards from 10 down to 1, if you concentrate, as I'm sure you will, and use your powers of intelligence, imagination, and concentration effectively, then many of you will find on the count of 1 that your hands will be locked, glued, welded, cemented, bolted together, making it impossible to separate your hands if you concentrate. However, the very moment I stamp my foot like this, your hands will instantly spring apart, you'll be your normal self in every way. So just as long as you keep staring at the knuckles on your hands, here we go. On 10. You should take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, staring at the knuckles on your thumbs as they start to get whiter and whiter. Or if you're a packy, they get paler and paler. No, but it's a joke. Just stare at your knuckles, okay? Just stare at your knuckles, take a nice deep breath in and out. Okay, fantastic. On 9, just squeeze your hands together as tightly as you can. It's almost as if the perspiration that slowly starts to form on the palms of your hands is turning into the world's strongest superglue. Sticking, locking, gluing, welding, cementing the palms of your left hand to the right hand to the left hand. And on 8, it's almost as if now that glue is seeping, weeping, and oozing out from your hands and under the joints and tips of your fingers, so that the fingers of the left hand are locked, glued, welded, cemented to the back of the right hand. The fingers of the right hand are locked, glued, welded, cemented to the back of the left hand. Palms locked together, glued, welded, bolted, cemented together. That's fantastic. Because on the count of 7, continue using your powers of intelligence, imagination, and concentration effectively. And as you do, you realise now it's almost as if, as you use your powers of mind so wonderfully, that it's almost as if somebody has placed a steel bolt through the back of your hands, and they're now doing the nut up on that bolt, tighter and tighter with every breath that you take, every noise that you hear, every word that I say, and every thought that you think, merely serving as a sign and a signal on 6 for your hands to get tighter and tighter. 5, locked, glued, welded, cemented. It's almost as if every nerve, fibre, tissue and muscle, from your wrist to your elbows to your shoulders, from your wrist to your elbows, your shoulders, is getting tighter and stiffer. And for some of you, really use, on the count of 6 and 5, your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively. For many of you, you may find that your hands actually start to vibrate or shake a little. Don't worry if this happens, it's perfectly natural, it happens all the time. You won't go blind and your hands won't drop off. However, it will just be a sign and a signal that the more they shake, the tighter they get. On 4, and the tighter they get, the more they shake, the tighter they get. That's fantastic. Every nerve from your wrist to your elbows, your shoulders, locked, glued, welded, cemented, locking your hands together on 3. Just so long as you believe, just so long as you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, then this will be, can be, is going to be, and is right now becoming and remaining 100% total reality for you. As on 2, remembering now, believing 100% implicitly now in the glue, sticking the palms of your hands together, sticking the fingers of the left hand to the back of the right hand, the fingers of the right hand to the back of the left hand, imagining that steel bolt through the back of your hand and the nuts being done up tighter with every breath that you take, every noise that you hear, every word that I say and every thought that you think. I'm realising finally now it's almost as if someone's poured concrete over your hands, encasing them in a block of concrete, making it impossible to separate your hands or use your powers of mind effectively. And on one, just keep staring at your thumbs. In a few moments' time, and only in a few moments, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. On the count of 3, and only on the count of 3, I'd like you then to try and separate your hands and just prove to yourself how wonderfully you've used your powers of mind. Prove to yourself that you've locked your hands together until I stamp my foot, at which point they'll instantly spring apart. But until then, you'll find that prove to yourself on the count of 3 that the harder you try, the more they'll stick. So, 1, locking, gluing, welding, cementing. 2, bolting, believing everything it'll be real for you. And on 3, just try and separate your hands. Just try and separate your hands. The more you try, the more they stick. The more they stick, the more you try, the more you try, the more they stick. In fact, the tighter they get, the more they shake. The tighter they get, the more they shake. Fantastic. And any moment now, we'll stamp my feet. Your hands will instantly separate. 1, 2, 3. You can separate your hands. Fantastic, you can separate. Now's the time. Brilliant. And just to get that blood flowing back in your fingers, give yourselves a round of applause. Right, better. Actually, I'm quite amazed under this circumstance how wonderful that worked with you all, with the majority of you. Be honest, some of you did actually genuinely, sincerely, look as though you were genuinely trying to separate your hands with difficulty.
Yeah, it was shaking as well, like you've got the shaking I've noticed. You started going.
You know the reason for that? Because you're an idiot. No. I'm sorry, Jim. Come back. I love you really. It is because even though you know all the reasons why this works, it still fucking works. It's as simple as that. That is pure suggestion, with the exception of one tiny little thing. If you put your hands like that now, okay, it's the time delay that makes this effective, but you get them in the position. We had them before. If you now try and separate your hands by pushing your palms together and taking your fingers apart like that, your knuckles knock on each other, don't they? So if you did manage to get to that point, when you suddenly your knuckles knock, it's like a signal to your brain that, hang on, he said my hands are locked in. Oh fuck, my knuckles, I can't open my hands. You can if you really tried, but also it's the law of reversed effort. Try, the more you try, the more they stick. It's the visualisation, planting this seed. It's prove to yourself, taking the onus away from me. Just in a minute, when I kept telling them when to do it, okay, why to do it. So we've done the count backwards from 10 to 1. And we say in a minute, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. And only on the count of 3, then and only then, I want you to try and separate your hands. Implies they won't be able to. And when you try, I want you just to prove to yourself that you've used your powers of mind wonderfully to make this reality. So there's also an implication that if they open the hands, they haven't used their powers of mind effectively. And even though you know all this, I'm explaining all this, this still works, as you've experienced and felt. Unfortunately, because this is pure suggestion, with the exception of the knuckles knocking. Knuckles knocking, if I'm getting that the right way around, I knew something was wrong about that. It isn't 100% reliable with 100% of the people. Nothing ever is, but it's hit and miss. In a stage hypnosis environment, say you had an audience of 200, you did that, you might get half the room to some degree. You're not going to get them all. Some people just aren't interested, don't. You'll get all of the people, this is why I always say you'll get 100% success with 100% of the people that 100% sincerely, genuinely want to take part and 100% do what you ask them to do when you tell them to do it. But not everyone falls into that category when they're in an audience. When it's a one-to-one therapy session, well, that's a different ballgame. Or when it's a self-help event that they're paid to come to, so they've got a different motive and desire, obviously, then it becomes even easier. But for completeness, that's why I just did that. And basically, you do what I did the way I did it, you say what I said the way I say it, and it works. That's why the scripts are on the CD for all these. They may not be exactly word for word, because I improvise. But the the language structure, the creating the picture, painting the picture with your words, the sort of embedding commands, the responsibility being put on them, letting them know what to do, when to do it, etc. All of that is down to how it's worded. And the scripts are in there on print, and also you've got the video of me doing it so you can see what I do, how I do it, so you can literally just model it, as they call it, in NLP. So I'm not going to have you splitting up in groups practicing it. You can do that in your own time, in the bar, or even better, get paid for practicing. Do it in the real world. Okay, next one. Oh, I prefer this one. This is far more useful. What time do we start, by the way? Is it 4?
20 minutes.
Been going 20 minutes. Good. Right, we'll break at 5, so that then we can get the last tape. Okay, like everyone, put your hands out in front of you like so. That incidentally was called the conventional locked hands test when you're looking it up on the resource material. Hands out in front of you, as so. Interlock your fingers like you did before, fingers to the left against the back of the right, fingers to the right against the back of the left. Then what I'd like each and every one of you to do is take your hands like so, push them away from you, and stare directly at the back of your hands, the knuckles on your fingers. Fantastic. I'm going to do this that little bit quicker. I'm going to count backwards from 3 down to 1. I won't count to 1 if you concentrate, as I'm sure you will. You'll find as you stare at the knuckles on your hands that your fingers start to lock, glue, weld, cement, bolt in place. So they're locked together by the count of 1. On the count of 1, if you concentrate and use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, then you'll find that on the count of 1, it will be impossible to separate your hands, and that the more you try, the more they'll stick. Until, of course, I stamp my foot and then they'll spring apart. Okay, but for now, on 3. Nice deep breath in through your nose, now through your mouth as you stare at the knuckles on the back of your hands. That's fantastic. Pushing your hands up, out, away from your arms, outstretched, almost as if every nerve, fibre, tissue and muscle in your arms, from your wrist to your elbows to your shoulders, is locked, glued, welded, cemented in place. On 2. It's almost as though you can see your knuckles starting to turn that little bit whiter. It's just a sign and a signal that we're locking, bonding, gluing, welding in place. And on 1, what I'd like you to do, all look at me, take your hands and put them up above your head like that. Reach high towards the sky, towards the rainbow, as if you're reaching up towards the sky, towards the rainbow. And keep reaching high towards the sky and towards the rainbow, but as you reach towards the sky, towards the rainbow, reaching for your dreams to make this come true, right now, what I'd like you to do, right now, as you keep reaching, you just try and separate your hands. Keep pushing, keep reaching towards the sky, towards the rainbow. Getting tighter and stiffer. Some of you can do it, some of you can't do it. That's fantastic. Tighter and stiffer, tighter and stiffer until I stamp my foot. 1, 2, 3. Look at me, nice deep breath in, by the way. You can separate your hands now. Don't worry, you'll be able to separate. You truly will. Yeah? Brilliant. That is what they call the conventional, no, that's the guaranteed locked hands test. Not guaranteed with 100% of people if they decide to bring their hands down a bit and open, but as long as they're, basically if you put your hands in that position, push them away from you, arms outstretched, up above your head. As long as your arms are as stretched as high as they can be above your head and you've not got any physical deformity, in that position, pushing towards the sky, it's basically physically impossible because the position your hands are in. It's got feck all to do with suggestion.
I can. You can as well.
Well, you've got midget hands. 99% of people this works on, because it's a physical thing. But because you've been suggesting that's going to be the end result, yeah? When it happens, and they genuinely experience it, God, they believe. And it makes everything else easier. That's the whole point of suggestibility test. It's convinces to lead them down the garden path.
What if you've got no arms?
You're fucked.
You're honest. You're honest.
Right, locked hands variations and mid-fingeroos. Oh yeah, it's interesting. The conventional locked hands, where they're held like that, squeezed together, the one we did first. If you get them to put their hands in that position and then take their middle fingers and touch them together like that, so get in that position. Yeah, your middle fingers touching. Yeah, and squeeze your palms together. Fingers against the back of your hands, squeeze your hands together as tightly as you can. Now in that position, at the end of it, you can start to say, oh, now your fingers lock. Try and separate your forefingers. It's basically physically impossible. You know? So you can do that as a mini convincer before you then tell them to try and separate the hands. And actually it is even more difficult to separate the hands as long as you've told them to press the palms together, because people tend to push the palms together, which makes it fucked up to do the fingertip. Play around with it, it's just a nice little additional convincer. I think you'll agree. Just for completeness, the arm drop test, you hear about it in a lot of bloody certain publications. The idea is you get everyone to, or the one person to put their one hand on top of the finger of the other, and the idea is to let this one become like a loose limp rag doll, and on the count of 3 they are to take their finger away, and this, the idea is because this is loose and limp, it will drop in the lap, which is a sign and signal that they're suggestible. Why go through with that when it may or may not work? I'm fucked if I know. But if you want it to recreate a similar looking thing on stage, the way I would do it, that's the way the conventional books say, no, I like things to be more likely to work most all of the time. So the way I do it is, can I just borrow your mouth, please? From this way, take a seat there, fantastic. Don't worry, it's just a suggestibility test, this, not an induction, not yet. We'll do that later. Wrong chair anyway, that's the hypnotic chair. What I'd like to do is, yeah, just take your hand like that, make a finger, okay? That's brilliant. I want you to sort of let almost as if someone's taking the muscles out and it's like a loose limp rag doll. That's fantastic. Put your hand on it. I want you to allow all the weight to go down on that, but just close your eyes. It's just a little test to tell me and everyone here how relaxed, how quickly you can relax, how deeply you can relax, how you can follow instructions. In a few moments' time, when and only when I tell you, then and only then your finger of the left hand will be removed. And the idea is just to be relaxed and allow your right hand to sink into your lap. That's fantastic. Don't fucking moan them when you're going to do it, basically. Because the reason that doesn't work, you're sorry, you can open your eyes now, thanks. Go back, thank you. The reason it doesn't work the conventional way, not all of the time, it's because when you say, alright, remove your finger now, they've got too long to think. They can decide, or they can second guess, or they can choose to. They've got the option then of leaving their hand there. That's not good. You want to lead them along the garden path. Now, if you've led them to believe you're going to tell them, and then fuck it, you lied. You just they haven't got time. They don't see it coming, so it does drop. But you get the end result you said would occur. So therefore, you're keeping your credibility, taking them down the garden path. Make sense? Cool. Oh, I love this one. A little bit similar. I do this before I do the guaranteed locked hands on people. And this is what I call the fingers closing together test. And they're calls, for reasons that'll become obvious. Can we take your hands like that, please, each and every one? Your demonstration is the best way of learning these things. So interlock your fingers very much like you did before. Palms together, fingers interlaced. Brilliant. And then just take your 2 forefingers. They're the ones at the top. Brilliant. I want you all to stare directly at me, but keeping your hands like that, praying position, so they're roughly in line with your nose. You can also look at me if you needed to. And I want you to separate your fingers about 1 inch. Fuck me, if that's 1 inch, I've got no worries. No, seriously. Just separate them about 1 inch. Cool. Instead of like me, because what's going to happen is I'm going to count from 3 to 1. And by the count of 1, if you concentrate, as I'm sure you will, your fingers will be touching. Fingertips will be, and the more you try to keep them apart, the more they'll lock, glue well, and pull together like magnets. As you take a nice deep breath in, 3, they're starting to move together as you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively. 2, the more you try to resist, the more it happens so rapidly, it's almost as if someone's got a huge piece of strong rope and tied it around your fingers and is pulling that rope tighter and tighter, tighter, pulling your fingers in closer and closer as you realise with every breath you take and every time you click your fingers, it happens quicker and quicker and quicker. Some of you it happens really quickly. When you use your powers of mind, for others it's that a little bit slower. And on 1, pretty much, I could carry on, but pretty much the touching. If I carried on, they would end up touching. Because basically, it didn't work for Steve at back. I haven't got an explanation for that. There's always a other section. But majority of times, for the majority of people, that position is such that holding in that position, especially when you give them the suggestion, after a length of while, it sort of gets tired and it naturally happens of its own accord after a certain length of time. So because you're looking at the people, whether it's one-on-one or you can carry on waffling shit as long as you need to until you've seen that the majority of them, the fingers have got tired and ended up touching, and then you can draw attention to the fact that they are touching and they go, oh my God, he suggested it, it's happened, he's a hypnotist. And that's what it's about. Giving them apparent evidence that these suggestions become reality. Does that make sense, that one to everyone? Yeah? Cool. Next, the light in heavy hands test. I think my book, other than the people who have since plagiarised my book and such as Mr. Andrew Newton, who seems to have plagiarised some of my material as well as other people's for his book and stuff, but that's a different story. And I'm not saying allegedly on that one. Try and sue me. I've got hard evidence on video. That's just my personal opinion, of course. Right. What I'd like you to do, place both your arms outstretched in front of you like that. Brilliant. Outstretched, straight in front of you, and take your left hand and turn it so it is palm upwards. Fantastic. Place your hands so they're roughly level to each other, and then everyone just close your eyes down. Close your eyes down, it helps you to concentrate more. Because I'm going to count backwards from 10 down to 1. Doesn't really matter, but I'm going to count backwards from 10 down to 1. I want you to basically practice visualising, because that's what hypnosis and relaxation is in this context. So what's going to happen is this. I'd like you to imagine that on the palm of your left hand, is a pile of very heavy leather-bound library books. Really heavy leather-bound library books. And with each second that passes by, those leather library books get heavier and heavier and start pushing your left hand down towards your lap because it starts to get tired with the library books. And tied to the middle finger of your right hand, is a lovely big bunch of colourful helium balloons, which with each second that passes by starts to make your right hand start to rise up, drift up, float up into the air as the leather-bound library books on 10, 9 and 8 start to get heavier and heavier, starting to sink down, drifting down towards your lap. As on 7 and 5, 6 even, with every breath that you take, every noise that you hear, every word that I say, just a sign and a signal that more and more balloons are being added to that bunch connected to the middle finger of your right hand, making it easier for it to rise up, drift up, float up into the air. Feels wonderful. 6 and 5 and 4. It's also another 10 library books are being added to the pile on your left hand. So it gets heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And in fact, some nasty bugger comes along when I click my fingers like this and drops a cannonball on top of the pile on your left hand. Right now, heavier and heavier and heavier. There's on 3 and 2, the balloons, another bunch of balloons being put on them, pulling them, rising, floating, drifting up into the air. Well, it feels fantastic. And just open your eyes. Everyone look where your hands are. Fantastic. That just shows me and hopefully shows you the more of a difference there is, the more suggestible you are in this context. Or as you say to them, that proves to me that this is going to be 100% successful for you here today. It gives them something tangible to see. Works to a greater or lesser degree. The fact of the matter is, some people will end up like that in a group, some won't. It doesn't matter. Any difference is a difference, even if it's no difference with this, because you haven't told them what the end result will be. So whatever the result is at the end, you can respond in a manner where that's exactly what you wanted. Get the idea? Yeah. Reason why it does work so well with the majority of people is when you take your hands out and stretch in front of you, okay, your left hand, letter L, goes palm upwards. The easy way to remember this is L for left hand, L for leather bound, library books, and the hand's going to go lower into their lap. It's all the letter L. And the right hand, which is palm downwards because the middle finger's got the balloons tied to, it's right for R. With helium balloons, they could be red if you wanted, R, which are going to rise R up into the air. That's the way of remembering. Okay. Now, the reason the left hand, the way to remember the left hand is palm upwards, is because it'd be pretty difficult to balance library books on the back of your hand. It's easier on your palm. That's how you remember it. The real reason for it is in that position after a while, the tendons on the arm, your arm starts to get knackered basically. And it's so much easier because at that strain, as you lower your hand, you get a sense of relief. It feels good. So, yeah, some people who are suggestible do start rising with this, but that's just suggestive, which is good because it shows you they're suggestible. But that's not the point. They both start off here, you get them to close their eyes. Once your eyes are closed, you've got no real sense of where your hands are. Okay? Confusing, disorientating. Just so long as the left hand moves a tiny bit, when they open their eyes, it gives the perception that this one's gone up, whether it has or it hasn't. So you get the end result that you want and you frame that however you want. Which means that this will be successful or whatever. Make sense? Cool. Which one's next? Oh yeah, cool, fantastic. That I call the light and heavy hands test, by the way. Okay, eyes glued together test. The name. The clue's in the name, yet again. Okay, we can do this where you sat. I generally, as a rule, would use this with somebody in a stage environment or in a group therapy setting if I was doing a demonstration or lecture presentation or something where I wanted to bring somebody to the front and do something impressive looking quite quickly. Because then it's easier to control for reasons that become obvious. However, for the sake of this only, I'm going to do it on the entire group, which is going to be more difficult for me to do, but you'll see why in a minute. Okay, so what I'd like each and every one of you to do is just close your eyes, please, if you would. Because I'm going to count backwards from 3 down to 1, and if you concentrate, as I'm sure you will, and use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, then you'll find that on the count of 1, when and only when I say now, when and only when I say now, then and only then, after the count of 1, when I say now, I'd like you to try to open your eyes. And when you do try to open your eyes, don't be panicked, don't be alarmed. In fact, be proud of the fact that you discover and prove to yourself that your eyelids are locked, glued, welded, cemented in place. Until I stamp my foot on the floor like that, of course. So on 3. Nice deep breath in through your nose, and then out through your mouth. In through your nose, and out through your mouth. I want you to imagine it's almost as though your eyelids are being locked, glued, welded, cemented, staple gunned, whatever you want in place, in a way that feels right for you. 2. I'd like you to imagine now that in the centre of your forehead, just near the very top of your head, and if I touch you on the forehead, it won't bother you, worry or concern you, but just there, where I've touched you there, imagine there's a little tiny hole. It doesn't hurt you, bother you or worry you or concern you, just a little hole where a little white light, calm, relaxing white light comes through there. Where I touch you on the head, just a sign and signal to relax more and find your eyes locked together, but where I touch you is where the little hole is, and imagine looking up with your eyeballs to where that hole is in your head. Look up with your eyeballs to where that hole is in your head. See that white light, coming through that little hole in your head. That little hole in your head, that little hole in your head, a sign and signal. Obviously not a bit quicker than this, but a little hole in your head, that's the place that I want you to look. See that white light going in? That's fantastic. See it going through your head at that point. Going through your head, a little white light there. Just top of your head. See that little white light there. And when that little white light is coming in, look upwards with your eyeballs, with your eyelids closed, looking at the white bright light. Looking at the white bright light. I want you to keep looking at the white bright light on the count of 1, believing right now that your eyes are locked, glued, welded, cemented together. And just so long as you keep staring at the white bright light, this will be a reality for you. So keep staring at that white bright light in the centre of your head. And as you keep staring up towards the white bright light in the centre of your head, just try and prove to yourself right now that you can't open your eyes. Just try, keep staring at that white bright light. The more you try, the more the stick. Just keep staring at that white bright light. That's fantastic. When I stamp my foot, your eyes will open. Right now. Whoa. Come on, you can open your eyes. You can open your eyes. Brilliant. That one basically will work on everyone, as long as you're doing it one-to-one. It works on the majority of you then, I didn't get time to come round everybody and touch you on the head, and I also, leaning over, didn't touch you all in exactly the right spot. But that's why I'm going to have to also show you one-on-one if you have the eyes. I'll have to do it on one person here. But the basic fact is this. If your eyes are closed and you touch somebody, or about that point, so if you take the eyes, imagine that's the base of a pyramid, and you go like that to make the top of a pyramid, top of the triangle, and that's the point where you put your fingertip and say to them, imagine there's a little hole there, and there's a white bright light going in, and get them to look up with their eyeballs at that position. Just so long as they keep looking up with their eyeballs in that position, it's impossible to open your eyes. It's physically impossible to open your eyes when they're in the upwards looking up there position. And in a sneaky way, that's what you've told them to carry on doing, keep looking up in that position. But that'll draw attention to it. Then it becomes logical that, well, no, I'm not going to be able to. But you put the emphasis on this white, bright light. And we also added to that, of course, that's the physical element that gives this, oh I can't, they come to believe it. But on top of that, we've added in just prove to yourself. The future pays them, told them what to expect, how to expect it, not to panic, and prove to yourself. So the onus is on them as well as an added layer, because I like as much as possible going in favour of things working. Which is very similar, although there's a physical element there. You can do that just without even getting them to look up there. That would be the Dave Ellman eye closure technique, where you get them to close their eyes, and you say, I'm going to count from 3 to 1. On the count of 1, I'm then going to ask you just to try to open your eyes. But what I want you to do is, in a way that feels right for you, is turn off all the little muscles around your eyes, so that when you get to the count of 1 and try and open your eyes, you can prove to yourself that you've done it effectively. And then you go through 3 to imagine turning the dials so that they turned off, and you've turned all the little muscles off around your eyes. And then you say to them, okay, and on 1, only when you're certain that you've turned off all the little muscles, just prove to yourself that you can't open your eyes. In many command you can, but also it's onus on them. And the fact of the matter is, the psychological fact of it is, if they are certain they can't open their eyes, they won't, because they won't even try, even though they'll justify to themselves they did. And that's, at that point, then you can go, which means that, and link it to whatever, because that's what this is, creating leverage to get other suggestions through quite rapidly. Cool. So did that make sense where I was on about for touching, physically? Yeah? It's also on the videos as well. Right, we don't need to get any more of that. Cool. Yeah, cool. This will just bring us up to a quick brew break very nicely.
You know you've only done 40 minutes.
Yeah, I know, and I'm going to do about another 15. Oh, take change. Did more earlier. It's alright. It all makes sense. Shall I do this on everyone or just one person? I think I'll do it on one person. And if you so desire to try it out on each other in the bar later or whatever, so be it. It'll be fun. But there again, you can do it on yourself. You can do this on yourself, and if you think what I'll be saying to you rather than having to have someone there to facilitate it. So, who would like to volunteer? Okay, Jim? Give Jim a round of peer group. Fantastic. Just so you can sit down? No. Just walk this way, that's fantastic. Brilliant. A little bit that direction, fantastic. Feet together, brilliant. Okay, under the 10-ton weight. That's wonderful. Seriously, oh yeah, you notice when I get people up, I always make a point of moving them around. It doesn't matter whether they've gone to the right spot or not. I'll move them around a bit and I'll take control, and I'm in control, feet together and all that. It's getting them conditioned to doing what you say when you tell them to do it. Especially important with stage hypnosis or demonstrations, because you want them to unquestionably do what you say when you say it. Just like the soldier on parade, he's told, stand up, he stand up, tells it instantly. So by moving them around, it gets them used to accepting suggestions. So Jim, what I'd like to do, this is absolutely wonderful, is place your right arm out in front of you like that. Make a fist. Oh, please don't hate me. Okay, make a fist. Then put your thumb up in the air like that, stare directly at your thumb. Keeping your feet together, moving only from the waist and only when I tell you. On the count of 3, only on the count of 3, I'd like you to move your thumb in the clockwise direction. Moving at the waist, keeping your feet together, and follow your thumb with your eyes, okay? Yeah? Not yet, but in a minute on the count of 3. And when you do, I want you to move your thumb, following it with your eyes, moving at the waist, keeping your feet together, until it becomes painful. The moment it becomes the least bit painful, stop, because I do not want you hurting yourself. But when you get to that position, I want you to then look past your thumb and see what you see in the background. So brilliant. 1, 2, 3 now, follow your thumb with your eyes. Go as far as you can. The moment it becomes painful, just stop. Remember what you can see. Brilliant. Okay, what could you see in the background?
2 thumbs.
2 thumbs. Right. Alright, move it again. When you get to the position where you want to stop because it becomes painful, just stop in that position. Okay? Look past your thumb. What do you see in the background?
It's like
So we're about here, aren't we? So, edge of the picture frame. You sir?
it's like I can see 2 heads.
Like you can see 2 hands. Cool. Follow your hand back with your thumb. Okay.
I've got nearly 2 arms there.
The other 2 hands, that's fantastic. Just take a nice deep breath in. Look at your thumb, close your eyes. And deep, deep. It's alright, you can close your eyes. Drifting down, sinking down, drifting down, sinking. Up you get. What are you doing down there? Get you up again. Anyway. Just take a seat, give me a round of applause. Right, you know. That's not what was supposed to happen, by the way. But when somebody responds in a manner such as that, where it's not what you expect, and they're obviously starting to hallucinate or get cross-eyed or whatever, take advantage of it. They're obviously quite, suggestible. Just go with it. Fuck it, move your hand. Just go with it, which is what I just did. So, what was supposed to happen? Well, thank you for getting up. Anyway, that looked great on camera. Sometimes things just happen. Great, go with it, be flexible, improvise. Had that been a stage show or something, or a genuine demonstration, at the moment it gone to the floor, I would have been straight there with my hand on the head going, that's brilliant, keep your eyes closed, going deeper, brilliant, you're doing the ego strengthening and taking it that next step along. But to the audience, the perception would have been, fuck me, that was a quick induction. Hijacking that moment. What was supposed to happen, so I'm going to need another one take, and I'm just scared that this time you might get 2 heads as well as 2 hands or something. Would be, you know, it's the front. Sorry to pick up you again. There's the front, smile, you're in show business now. Feet together. Okay, right arm out in front of you like so, make a face, thumb in the air. Like I said before, on the count of 3, only on the count of 3, I'd like you to move your thumb, following it with your eyes, rotating in the waist but keeping your feet together, and stop the very moment it becomes the least bit painful. I definitely don't want you hurting yourself, so at that very moment, that position, stop, look past your thumb, and take notice of what you see in the background. 1, 2, 3, move your thumb, follow with your eyes, go as far as you can, but stop when it becomes the least bit painful. However you do, don't hurt yourself. Remember your thumb, if you were looking past it, where would you say what was the main bit if you were looking through your thumb that you see in the background? 6 p.m. you can see, fantastic. Follow your thumb back with your eyes. Would you agree that you just genuinely, really, here and now today, moved your thumb just now in that direction, and where you stopped, you could see 6 p.m.
Yep.
And to go any further would result in like, no thanks, we might get to rounds of pain.
Yep.
So what I'd like you to do is close your eyes and just imagine doing the same thing again, but just imagine it. So you're not really going to move your thumb just yet, but just imagine moving your thumb, following it with your eyes, rotating at the waist, keeping your feet together. So everything as it was before. Just imagine doing that. Only this time, you find that something you once thought would be difficult has in fact proved itself to be so ridiculously easy. And you find that in your mind's eye now, you can imagine that there is no discomfort whatsoever. As you move your thumb, follow with your eyes at your waist in your mind's eye, you see yourself seeing the window, then the picture frames and the plan, you see the food serve sign, you see the 6 p.m. and it feels really good and fantastic within you. And then you amaze yourself, you impress yourself within, as you notice that you've managed to move your thumb effortlessly past 6 p.m. You've gone further, much further than you ever thought would have been possible in the past, which will serve as a sign and a signal that you can get whatever you want out of life, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. And when you've seen in your mind's eye that you've been able to move further than you did before, you've been able to move forward, make those changes, you've been able to get past that block of the 6 p.m. and move on with no obstruction and no discomfort in a way that feels good and right for you, then I'd just like you to nod your head. Fantastic. Open your eyes. Look at your thumb on the count of 3. I want you to do it again. 1, 2, 3. Move your thumb with your eyes going further and further and further. It's easy. Look how easy it is. Look past that. It's fucking fantastic. You can bring that back. That's wonderful. And remember, that means that you can, as quickly as that, whenever you want to, just think of whatever you want to. And there are no limits. There are no blocks. That's all behind you right now as you move forward in your life. Giving you a round of applause. That's what's supposed to happen. Okay?
You tell me I'm a freak.
No. That's what's supposed to happen. I call that the, oddly enough, the eyes follow thumb rotation test. Ta-da! Even the titles remind you of how it's done. It is feet together, it is rotate at the waist, it's arm out in front, look at the thumb move. The majority of people, unless there's some sort of physical issue, which is different matter, you'd ask them first if you've got any back complaints. I know I didn't then. Didn't have time. Forgot, actually, to be honest. If you look at your thumb, the first time you do it, all the physical element of this basically is, the first time, it's like warming up exercise. So the second time, you're naturally more flexible to go further. Simple as. The verbal suggestion element of it is the first time I talk in terms of going as far as you can before it becomes painful. I don't want you to hurt yourself. Stop that very moment. The second time, after the positive visualisation of you can go past that mental picture that becomes reality, I'm talking in terms of in a moment. Notice as you do that in your mind's eye, you feel no discomfort whatsoever. Much nicer word than pain. You feel no discomfort whatsoever. In fact, something you once thought was difficult in the past has now proved itself to be so ridiculously easy. And when you, in your mind's eye, have gone past that point and moved forward, and you know it feels good, blah, 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 you heard what I said, then just nod your head. In other words, yeah, it's happened. It's acceptance, that's it. The suggestion's in, bouncers, fucked off. And the end result is they will move further. It doesn't matter if they only move to the letter M. It's still further. Obviously, the more of a move, the more dramatic to an audience, but to a person, one-to-one, that's why I use it sometimes in therapy, even just a millimetre further is a change. It's a movement forward. It's something different, tangible, they can see and feel themselves, and which you can anchor to and go, which means that this will, or you can immediately use that as the therapy, which I'm sort of doing now in an ego-boosting confidence way of, that's fantastic, it means you can take that with you and move forward, no blockages, that's all behind you as you move forward. Disassociation, future pacing, positive anchoring to something that genuinely happened there. Does that all make sense? Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, that's really the only suggestibility test that I've ever used in my career or would ever use. Ta-da! However, there's a couple of jokey ones that are nice for breaking the ice at the beginning of stuff, such as follows, saying that there's different types of reasons why hypnosis works and what have you. Some of it's physical psychology, some of it's verbal. It all comes together into this technique that's taken me years to learn, which you're lucky enough to have the opportunity to experience here today. You know, kind of crap you give the general public. So let me give you an example so you know it's nice, relaxing, enjoyable. It's nothing to be scared of. Verbal suggestion Okay? I want you all to say the word silk. S-I-L-K. Okay? Every time I put my hand out like that, I want you to say the word silk. S-I-L-K. Okay?
Silk. Silk.
Brilliant. You've got the idea. Every time my hand goes out. Now, while I'm doing that, suddenly, without warning, I'm going to ask you all a question very loudly. The very moment, the very instant, the very second. Power of three again. The very moment, the very instant, the very second that I ask that question, I want you to shout out the first answer that comes to mind, okay?
Silk. 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 Silk.
Faster.
Silk. Silk.
What's cows drink?
Water.
Milk.
Those that said water, well done. Those that said milk, no, they give milk. That's how easily it can be influenced by a few words. Obviously, when we come to do the change word together, it's far more powerful. This is just a jokey way of showing you the kind of techniques that go to work. So what else have we got? Yeah, tops. The word tops. T-O-P-S. Every time I put my hand out. And again, I'll ask you a question. And I do say the first thing that comes to mind. Okay.
Tops. 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 Tops.
Faster.
Tops. Tops. Tops.
What do you do at a green traffic light? You go, yes. Well, there again, you have seen it numerous times. Yeah, those that are laughing at think, oh, they're custom. You're influenced by the word association. This is sort of how the human brain works. We'll try one more. M-O-S-T. Most.
Most.
What do you put in a toaster? No, you put bread in, it comes out as toast. Then, yeah. Okay. And just before we have a brief brew break, bearing in mind those are quite obviously just do what I did and you'll get the same result off the majority of people. Some will, some won't. It's a great icebreaker though, and it also sets off that competition in the room and starts the group mentality if you're doing group sessions. A physical one is to say to everyone, please take your right hand, like so. Okay, and I want you to do what I say. Remember, do what I say, not what I do. Do what I say. Hand out in front of you. Make a fist. Okay? Now make a gun. Boom, boom, boom. Now make a ring. Fantastic. On the count of three. Just look at me. 1, 2, 3. Just touch your chin like that. Now, do it. That's brilliant. No, your chin's down here, everyone. I said, do what I say, not what I do. Did I not? I said, do what I say, not what I do. And on that note, we all feel a bit like tits. We'll have a quick break. Can we please be back in here for...
Can we just all sit where we are? I'm sorry.
I'm turning now.
No, you can't do. Because it's Alex's birthday and he's officially now 33. All together now.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Embarrassment. Happy birthday, dear Happy birthday to you. Cheers, everyone. Thank you, Hunter. Cheers, buddy. I'll open that in a minute. Right, alright, we'll actually now be back in here for 5:30 for the last 45-minute
I've actually
session.
got something
Would you give me time to have a...
You need to hand them out for
Do what?
the brew break.
Oh, right, okay. There are chocolates here with my ugly mug on. Saying happy 33rd birthday, Jonathan Royal, aka Alex Smith. So if you like to nibble on a chocolate during the break, please do just help yourself.
They're like Kit Kats, by the way.
I'll put them at the back. Well, I'm going to get a drink in. Quick chat with Nick and Eva, who, if you've not seen them yet on UK TV Style, it did start this morning at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it's on every day for like
2 weeks
now, isn't it?
2 weeks.
Yeah, well then they're doing the other
Oh,
series
yeah.
as well.
But it's
Yeah.
on 7 a.m., 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. on the various UK TV channels.
And if you're not up at that time, set the video. There's no excuse. So yeah, I'll pass back in here, please. Fantastic. Cheers.
Right, you can
Thanks
turn
a
the
lot.
cameras off
Yeah,
if you want.
How's it going, lads?
Brilliant.
Have you been?
Yeah, it's on tonight.
Oh, so it's